Cause and Effect, Unit 3, Lesson 4, Skyscrapers. In 1998, the Petronas Towers in Malaysia became the tallest building in the world, stealing the #1 spot from the Sears Tower in Chicago. 4 years later, in 2003, the Taipei 101 building in Taiwan stole the title from the Petronas Towers. It seems that no skyscraper can hold the title of the world's tallest building for very long. But how high can a skyscraper go? Some experts believe that a mile-high building, 5,280 feet or 1,609 meters, is possible with the technology we now have. For centuries, the tallest buildings were made of stone. The base or lower walls of a tall building had to be very thick in order to support the upper walls. The taller the building was, the thicker the lower walls had to be. One of the tallest buildings in the late 19th century was the 14-story polyester building in New York. To support the upper walls of the building, the stone walls at the base were 9 feet, 3 meters thick. It took two important technological advancements to make a real skyscraper possible. The first advancement was the mass production of iron and steel. The second was the production of lightweight metal beams. In the 1880s, architects started using these beams to support the walls of buildings. These buildings didn't need thick walls at the base, so they could be much taller. There were other advantages to building with metal beams. The building walls were thinner and they could have more windows, which made the rooms much more pleasant. With thin lower walls, there was more room for stores and offices on the ground floor. It was also faster to build with iron and steel than with stone. However, there was still one problem. How would people get to the top floor of a tall building? The solution, of course, was the elevator. Elisha Otis invented the safety elevator and first showed it to the public in 1853. By the 1880s, there were elevators run by electricity, which were fast and light enough to use in skyscrapers. They were developed at just the right time. There were other problems that architects and engineers had to solve. They had to figure out a way to get water to all the floors. They had to prevent the buildings from moving too much in the wind. In addition, they wanted to make the buildings as beautiful as possible. At the same time that architects were designing their first high-rise buildings, thousands of immigrants were entering the United States from Europe. These people needed housing, and tall buildings could provide plenty of it in the cities. Before long, skyscrapers were rising in cities across the United States. Over the years, many problems connected to high-rise buildings were solved, and buildings got taller and taller. In 1909, a 50-story building was built in New York, and in 1913, one with 60 floors. In 1931, the Empire State Building in New York was finished. It was 102 stories high. Throughout the 20th century, other countries were building skyscrapers too. In Europe, the centers of many cities had been destroyed by bombs during World War II. City planners rebuilt many of the buildings exactly as they had been, but they also include high-rises in their plans. Most European cities today are a mixture of old and modern buildings. Tokyo did not have tall buildings for a long time because of earthquakes. Then engineers figured out how to keep a high-rise standing during an earthquake. Today, there are many old buildings in Tokyo. In fact, there are tall buildings in cities throughout the world. As the population of a city increases, the number of high rises increases because they take less space. We have the technology for skyscrapers, but do we really need them or want them? With the invention of computers, a company doesn't need to have all its offices in one huge building. People can communicate by computer from offices spread out all over the city or even from their homes. And do we want 200-story buildings? Do people want to work and live that far away the ground? The architects and engineers who are planning these new skyscrapers have to think about these questions, or they may build buildings that no one will use.